Hey guys, Matt from Dudes Camping here. We started a new series of podcasts and I wanted to do a video of some of the strange things that have taken place on my property here in Arizona. From a mysterious visitor in my RV to a strange alien thing captured on my trail cam. Before we get into the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't done it already, and visit us at our podcast, Scary But True Campfire Stories, presented by Dudes Camping and narrated by me, Matthew S. Newbold. The best thing about a scary story is when it's true. Speaking of true scary stories, that brings us to today's video, Strange Supernatural Things on my Arizona property.
One weekend, I made the long drive from Las Vegas to my 40-acre property out in the middle of Arizona. It's 20 miles from the nearest town, isolated, and the perfect place to go camping without having to deal with regulations, rangers, or fire restrictions. Plus, a man should be able to pee anywhere he wants to. As I drove down the gravel road, I turned off onto the path that had been created by driving many times towards my usual campsite. I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary until I reached my RV. The RV is set up on a completely vacant spot with no access to water or power. I have to run a generator to use the microwave, air conditioner, or power any electronics. A year earlier, I set up a metal canopy for some shade over my camp. Every time I leave, I have to store the generator and lock the RV, taking the keys with me. I pulled up and noticed there was something very different about my RV. The door was wide open. I did not leave the door open last time. Someone must have opened it. The fact that it was wide open meant that somebody was in there. Somebody could still be in there. I got out of the car and slowly walked up to the RV. I didn't see any sign of anyone. My campsite is so isolated that I don't know how anybody could have found it. A person wouldn't just stumble upon my RV. I looked into the RV and saw no one. I looked around the inside to see if anything was missing, and everything was still there. Nothing was taken. Even the dry food in the storage refrigerator was intact. Strange. I looked again at the door, which was wide open. The metal canopy sits too close for the door to have accidentally opened by itself. It had to be pushed open with significant strength.
As you can see, there is no way to get this door open all the way unless you push really hard on it.
I then looked at the lock. I was baffled. The door was still locked, but swung wide open. It could not have been opened from the outside. It had to have been opened from the inside. Did I forget to close the door but remembered to lock it? Not likely. Was my RV haunted? Is there such a thing? Did the wind somehow blow the door open, then blow it with such force that it swung against the metal canopy? Did somebody break in and decide I had nothing to steal, so they left the door open but locked? Or did I have a visitor of the supernatural kind that doesn't need to enter through doors? I don't know, and I probably never will know the answer. A couple of years ago, I noticed a lot of animal tracks on my property. It was hard to tell what they were from the constant heat scorching the ground, so I bought a trail camera and set it up overlooking the shed that I had built to store tools. I changed the settings so that any movement would set off an 8-second video. I left it set up for 2 months and returned to see what I had captured. I noticed that the batteries were dead and I had captured quite a bit of video on the hard drive. I was excited to see what I caught. I returned home and watched the video. There was so much action that the batteries only lasted 1 month. Lots of birds, foxes, dogs, and coyotes. I returned with a set of fresh batteries and put the trail camera on photo capture this time. Any movement would set it off. I returned again after 4 months with my friend Wayne, and I assumed that the batteries had died again, so I waited until we were ready to go home after a weekend of camping to grab the trail cam. We had some trouble getting home due to the rainy weather and the harsh terrain that surrounds my property. We ended up towing my vehicle home, so I forgot all about the trail camera. A week later, I popped the hard drive in my computer to see what we had caught. I had over 700 pictures on my disk. What? I thought. That's a lot. I had to go through each one. It turns out that there was a branch right in front of the camera, and every time the wind would blow, the branch would move and set off the camera to take a picture. I had a lot of pictures of a branch, but I also caught a lot of animals' movement as well. Donkeys, birds, and all sorts of animals as well. I went to the end because I wanted to see when the batteries died. Well, they didn't. It was taking pictures the whole time that Wayne and I were camping that weekend, and one picture in particular was very interesting. A photo that was taken with an object flying overhead. Though the photo isn't too clear to tell what it is, there are no planes or helicopters that fly over this area. Is it a UFO caught on my trail cam? Or is it simply a bird flying overhead? I'm hoping it's just a bird, because I spend a lot of time at my property and I don't need any visitors probing around my property. Any of my property. Speaking of probes, this next picture is a mystery to me. Every time the wind would blow the branch in front of the camera, the movement would cause it to snap a picture. Well, there were 10 days that apparently had no wind at all. 10 days of no pictures, except for 2. On the 7th day, the camera detected motion. This picture shows that there is something in the upper right corner, barely visible but noticeable. It seems to be moving down because the next shot captures this. I have no idea what this is. These are the only 2 pictures in these 10 days, so I know that the wind wasn't blowing anything in front of the camera. I can't really tell how far this object is from the lens either. Is it a pine needle? It wouldn't have set the camera off because the motion detector is not near the lens. Is it an antler of some animal? How did it get so perpendicular? Is it the beak of a bird? I looked it up in the field guide, and there is nothing with an antler or a beak that looks anything like this. It is quite a mystery to me, and I would love to hear a natural explanation or even your thoughts, but so far, none of them seem to fit. What I am hoping it is not is an alien spaceship or an unknown cryptid creeping around my land. Hopefully not an alien probe getting ready for business. If I'm lucky, it's just Bigfoot getting ready to take a leak.
This is just a sample of what you can expect from the podcast. I'll be narrating scary but true ghost, Bigfoot, UFO, and supernatural stories you would tell around the campfire, so make sure you check out the podcast. Scary but True Campfire Stories presented by Dudes Camping on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, and any other podcast thing. I think we got on all of them now. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, share it with everyone you know, and we will see you guys on the trail.